Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches so many lives. Navigating adulthood when you're on the autism spectrum. It's a phase, well, it often comes with its own set of unique challenges, but also incredible potential for growth and independence.
It's a profound shift, isn't it? What's often called the transition cliff really highlights just how different this journey can be. It's not simply about, aging.
Right.
It's a complete overhaul of support systems and expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our mission here is to give you a truly comprehensive, nuanced understanding of what this transition truly entails, providing key insights and maybe a fresh perspective that goes beyond the surface.
So we'll begin by really trying to understand the real-world experiences of young adults.
And call the transition cliff.
Mm.
This is that moment right after high school where support services can just drastically fall away. Take Amanda, for instance. She had a biochemistry degree. She was incredibly honest, had integrity, always on time, loyal, all these fantastic qualities.
Sounds great on paper.
Totally.
Yeah.
But time and again, she'd get rejected after job interviews. Why? Because she struggled, really struggled, to articulate her qualifications when she felt put on the spot, almost like she was being, grilled.
Oh, yeah. Her experience really illustrates a common disconnect. The way we typically assess individuals can completely miss the strengths of someone on the spectrum. Now, contrast Amanda with Noah. Noah's high school guidance counselor suggested a dual enrollment program at a local community college, specifically one with a spectrum-specific track.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this allowed him to essentially gain independence and get a taste of college. But crucially, he was still receiving high school services like counseling and life skill support.
What a smart, proactive move that was.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Bill. At 17, through his Individualized Education Program, his IEP, Bill secured an internship at a greenhouse,
Nice.
which was perfect because he already loved the place and had even taken the time to classify all the flowers and trees there. His IEP also helped him set tangible goals, like learning to shop for himself, doing his own laundry, and getting his driver's license.
It really shows the range, doesn't it? These stories underscore the diverse paths people navigate.
They really do.
And when we connect these personal stories to the broader landscape, it's that sharp decline in medical, mental health, and other critical support services that young adults with autism often encounter right after high school. Their research strongly suggests that society needs to invest more in vocational, housing, and other supports because the data clearly shows these adults can and do make significant contributions to the workforce.
It really sounds like there's so much more to high-functioning autism, what was formerly known as Asperger's syndrome, than meets the eye. How does this functional veneer impact their ability to thrive as adults?
That's a critical point. Many young adults might appear functional on the surface, but that can mask deep, underlying vulnerabilities.
Like what kind of things?
Well, they often continue to struggle significantly with sensory issues. Imagine a college student, for example, who could only eat one type of food at a time because the noise and visual chaos of a cafeteria were so overwhelming.
Wow.
This student was almost misdiagnosed with anorexia.
Gosh, that really puts it into perspective. And it's not just sensory issues, is it? There's more going on.
No, not at all. Many also face persistent social isolation and challenges with emotional regulation. And there's immense pressure, to suppress self-comforting behaviors, often called stimming, just to fit into the adult world.
Can we talk about that for a second? For someone who might not understand, why is suppressing stimming so exhausting? And what does that suppression really cost an individual?
That's a great question. Stimming behaviors like, say, hand flapping or rocking are often a way for individuals with autism to regulate their sensory input or cope with stress or anxiety.
So it serves a purpose.
Exactly. So suppressing these natural self-soothing mechanisms can be incredibly draining. It leads to increased anxiety, fatigue, and sometimes even emotional meltdowns because they're expending so much energy trying to mask, trying to appear normal.
It's like holding your breath all day.
Precisely. It's unsustainable and, frankly, damaging to their well-being.
That helps paint a clearer picture. But it's not all about overcoming obstacles, is it? Early adulthood can also be a time of remarkable progress and maybe newfound strengths.
Absolutely. We often see significant positive changes. For instance, as the prefrontal cortex, that's the part of the brain responsible for executive functions, continues to develop.
Oh.
Some ADHD symptoms like hyperactivity, impulsivity, and inattention can actually lessen.
Oh, it's interesting. Now let's explore something truly groundbreaking in our understanding of autism, the power of longitudinal study.
Yes, very important.
For anyone new to the term, These are research projects that track the same individuals over incredibly long periods, years, sometimes even decades, to observe how autism spectrum disorder actually evolves from childhood through adulthood.
And this approach is absolutely vital because it gives us a clear, dynamic picture of lifetime effects. It helps us pinpoint factors that influence long-term outcomes and truly grasp the enduring impact of various interventions.
So how do they work typically?
Well, these studies typically begin by following children diagnosed with ASD from a very young age.
And they have clear objectives,
Yeah.
tracking how symptoms change over time, assessing shifts in cognitive, social, language abilities, identifying early predictors of future outcomes, and understanding how different interventions play out across a lifespan.
Right, and they use a consistent set of tools like regular assessments, standardized diagnostic instruments such as the ADOS.
The Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule.
Exactly, ADOS. Plus, interviews with parents and teachers alongside behavioral evaluations.
So what have they found? What are the big takeaways?
Well, the core findings are quite revealing. Firstly, symptom trajectories are incredibly varied. Some individuals show significant improvement, some remain stable, while others might experience persistent or even worsening symptoms. It's highly individualized.
Not one size fits all.
Not at all. And what's truly striking from this research, like the fascinating 2016 study by Inga Marie Epstein, is the discovery that many young adults diagnosed with ASD as young children no longer met the full diagnostic criteria in adulthood.
We really? They no longer met the criteria.
Yes. Now, softer signs like maybe social communication issues or ADHD might persist, but the full diagnosis sometimes shifts.
It's a huge insight.
Right.
It really changes the narrative from a static diagnosis to a more fluid developmental journey.
Yeah.
Does this mean our understanding of what ASD is needs a complete reevaluation?
Well, it certainly prompts a reevaluation of how we define and understand recovery or optimal outcome. It suggests that for some, the diagnostic criteria might become less relevant over time as they develop coping mechanisms and mature.
Okay.
This variability highlights that autism is a spectrum, not just in terms of symptoms, but also in terms of trajectory over a lifetime. It pushes us towards a more dynamic, less fixed view of the condition.
So beyond this fascinating variability,
Yeah.
what else consistently predicts outcomes in these long-term studies? What factors seem to matter most?
Early language skills and IQ consistently emerge as powerful predictors of later outcomes. The initial severity of symptoms also plays a significant role in long-term results.
Okay, that makes sense.
And speaking of interventions, these studies provide compelling evidence. Early and sustained intervention, especially before age 3, can lead to significant improvements in cognitive, language, and social skills. Consistent therapy truly has long-term beneficial impacts.
It sounds like the earlier and more consistent, the better. Are there other variables that consistently pop up in these studies that either help or maybe hinder this developmental journey?
Absolutely. It's common for individuals with ASD to also experience other conditions like ADHD or anxiety, and these co-occurring conditions significantly affect their developmental trajectory.
Right, comorbidities.
Exactly. Certainly. These large-scale efforts have truly advanced our knowledge. For instance, the Autism Phenomena Project, as I mentioned, launched in 2006, has allowed us to actually see differences in brain structure and function from early childhood, giving us concrete insights into how ASD develops on a neurological level.
Wow.
Then you have initiatives like the Interactive Autism Network, or EN, an online community started in 2007, which gathers invaluable data directly from families, giving us a vital, real-world perspective on daily challenges and successes.
Direct from the source.
Exactly. These, among others, like the Early Diagnosis Study or the Simon Simplex Collection, provide the bedrock for understanding lifetime impacts.
That's an incredible amount of ongoing work. So what are the broader implications of all this research? Why does it matter to us and to society beyond the scientific community?
If we look at the bigger picture, these findings are incredibly powerful. They directly inform policy and best practices for early intervention and education, helping us refine what actually works.
Makes sense.
They guide the development of individualized treatment plans, moving us towards truly personalized care rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. And of course, they provide a robust foundation for future research into the very causes and progression of autism.
And the bottom line.
Ultimately, they powerfully underscore the need for lifelong support systems, everything from vocational training and mental health services to social integration programs, emphasizing the absolutely crucial role of family and community support throughout an individual's entire life.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, now let's pivot our attention to navigating higher education, which is a critical step for many young adults with autism.
A big one.
What's really interesting is that by federal law, under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, schools are actually mandated to start transition planning for college, the workforce, or independent living when students turn 16.
That's right, 16.
Some states, like Massachusetts, even start as early as 14 to provide more prep time.
That earlier start can make a big difference. And this planning isn't just a formality. It must be an integral part of the student's individualized education program, or IEP, and it's tailored to their specific needs and strengths.
So it covers academics.
Yes, academic instruction, related services, community experiences, and clear goals for employment, college, and daily living skills. Which raises an important question. Who truly needs to be at the table for this planning?
Crucially, the student themselves. Involving the child in this IEP process, especially when planning for post-school transitions, is vital. It really fosters their sense of control and increases their investment in their own future.
Absolutely essential.
When it comes to actually finding the right college program, there are diverse models available. Some students go to mainstream colleges but receive individual support like tutoring or coaching, taking on the responsibility for advocating for their own needs, and utilizing campus resources like learning specialists, therapists, or writing centers.
Then you have the hybrid model, where students take some mainstream classes but also attend classes specifically designed to help them build skills and navigate the college transition.
A bit of both worlds.
Exactly. And finally, there's the separate model, where students attend classes only with other students with autism or disabilities, engaging in social interaction through structured on-campus activities.
We've talked about traditional colleges, but what role do community colleges play in this journey, particularly for students on the spectrum? Are they finding a unique niche?
They absolutely are finding a unique and vital niche. Community colleges often offer valuable remedial programs specifically for students on the spectrum, such as those within the Community College Consortium for Autism and Intellectual Disabilities.
Oh, okay.
These programs might feature professors who are trained to work with college students with autism, offering both targeted job training and crucial social programs. Many young adults with autism struggle significantly to make social connections independently on a new campus, so this structured social support is truly key.
And here's a critical point for parents listening. Remember that services provided through IDA generally cease once a child leaves high school or turns 21.
That cliff again.
Right. That's why those dual enrollment programs are so valuable. They allow teens to enroll in college courses while still receiving those IDA-funded services from high school. It's a smart bridge.
A very strategic bridge. And once a student is in college, the responsibility for securing support largely shifts to them. They become responsible for requesting accommodations under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act.
Section 504, okay.
This means providing the college with documentation of their disability and proactively working with the college to arrange those accommodations. So, for parents and students approaching this decision when choosing a college, what are some of the truly essential questions they should be asking themselves?
Exactly. This isn't just about brochures and campus tours, is it? You really need to ask, how comfortable will my child be actually asking for help and accommodations?
Key question.
How much academic support is genuinely needed? Not just for understanding class material, but for things like test taking, writing papers, managing schedules, and meeting with professors. How much social support is necessary? Can they genuinely make friends independently? Or is a more structured program required? What are the counseling services like? And importantly, will my child actually use them? Are there specific transition classes, programs for appropriate registration, or real opportunities for workforce preparation and internships?
And this leads us to a critical parenting strategy that often gets overlooked, avoiding what we might call propping up.
Ah, yeah. Tell us about that.
It's incredibly tempting for parents to be the bridge, maybe allowing their children to live at home and doing a significant portion of their classwork or advocacy for them. There's that anecdote of the father who apparently wrote his son's papers until junior year of college.
Wow. That's a powerful example of what not to do. This kind of propping up isn't sustainable, and in the long run, it really stunts emotional and academic growth. And it's ethically dishonest, right?
Absolutely. So what's a better approach? Instead, it's far more beneficial to start with more structured support, like maybe a community college program specifically designed for students with autism to genuinely prepare them for less restrictive environments or direct entry into the workforce.
Building real skills.
Exactly. Paul Shattuck's research highlights two absolutely critical skills for independence: identity formation and self-efficacy.
Okay, define those quickly.
Identity formation is the process of developing one's sense of self, including their disability identity. Self-efficacy is the belief that one can be successful at what they do. Both are essential for self-advocacy.
Got it.
If these aren't well developed by the time someone is considering college, a program that explicitly fosters these skills is crucial.
So, by senior year of high school, what's a realistic checklist for assessing readiness for college or independent living? What should parents be looking for?
You need to be brutally honest with yourselves. Can your child speak to teachers, ask for accommodations, write papers, take notes? Can they make doctor's appointments, get out of bed independently, make friends?
The practical stuff.
And the crucial life skills. Can they manage a budget, use public transportation, or navigate workplaces safely? Which, critically, requires theory of mind to understand things like how motorists might react. Can they do laundry, select appropriate clothing, maintain hygiene, prepare simple meals?
Right.
If these aren't mastered, the reality is that mainstream college success is unlikely to happen right away.
That's a very clear, practical, and honest checklist. Now let's talk about employment, which presents a significant set of challenges, but also, thankfully, some genuinely emerging opportunities.
Yes, definitely signs of progress.
A report from the A.J. Drexel Autism Center revealed a pretty stark reality. Only 58% of young adults with autism worked for pay during the first 8 years after high school.
58%.
Yeah, this rate is significantly lower than for those with other learning issues, and often the wages are quite low.
The reasons for this gap are complex. Part of it is the shift in the U.S. job market towards service provision, which inherently requires interpersonal skills, unlike maybe some older automation jobs that didn't as much.
The soft skills challenge.
Exactly. Young adults on the spectrum often need significant support to determine their interests, write resumes, conduct job searches, and navigate interviews. They may also need help translating their skills into what an employer is actually looking for.
Plus, they often lack the informal social networks that are so common among 20-somethings, those casual connections that are incredibly important for informational interviews and finding out about jobs.
That's a huge factor. They might have considerable skills in specific areas, but struggle to articulate them or connect them to employer needs in that interview setting we talked about with Amanda.
Yeah, but there are promising solutions emerging, right?
Yes, thankfully. We're seeing a rise in nonprofit organizations dedicated to helping young adults with autism develop those crucial soft skills they need for the workplace.
That's good news.
And some truly enlightened employers, like Microsoft, are changing their interview processes entirely. Instead of traditional grilling interviews, they're observing candidates working on actual tasks.
Oh, interesting. Like a work trial.
Kind of, yeah, which is a far more reliable assessment and significantly beneficial for individuals on the spectrum.
That is truly transformative. How difficult is it for organizations like Microsoft to actually implement these new interview processes, and what kind of impact are they seeing internally?
Well, it definitely requires a cultural shift and an investment in training, no doubt. But companies that have embraced it report incredibly positive impacts. They find a broader talent pool, increased loyalty from employees who feel understood and valued, and often highly dedicated and focused workers.
Sounds like a win-win.
It really is. Employees thrive and companies gain unique skills and perspectives. And it's not just employers either. Some states, like Massachusetts again, have expanded job training services from their Department of Developmental Services to include people with autism across all IQ levels, which is a major step towards broader inclusion.
That's fantastic progress. And it's important to remember that when people with autism do fill jobs, they tend to have stellar qualities. Deep loyalty, impeccable punctuality, and remarkable honesty.
Absolutely. Great employees. But even after securing a job, employees with autism may still need specific ongoing job training and managers who can break down complicated instructions clearly.
So the support doesn't stop at hiring.
Not at all. Despite the current lags in employment rates, there's increasing interest among employers in hiring and retaining workers with ASD, and we can genuinely expect growth in employment and job training programs in the coming years as awareness and best practices spread.
Now, let's shift to another crucial planning aspect for the future. Legal guardianship.
Important topic.
For parents who need to continue making healthcare and financial decisions for their children over 18, becoming a legal guardian is often a necessary step.
It often is. The initial step typically involves consulting an attorney about setting up a will or trust that includes a special needs trust. This is absolutely
Wait,
critical
so critical.
because it safeguards government benefits like SSI and Medicaid, ensures proper management of inherited assets, and thoughtfully plans for the child's long-term care. Subsequent steps often involve a legal hearing before a judge.
And a key benefit here is that in most states, adults over 18 are presumed capable of making their own healthcare decisions.
Right. Legally.
Without guardianship, parents might find themselves unable to make crucial decisions if their child is hospitalized, for instance. Imagine a parent trying to advocate for life-saving treatment, only to be told their adult child has the sole right to decide, even if they aren't equipped to do so.
That's a frightening scenario. It's also important to clarify what guardianship does not prevent. Having a legal guardian does not prevent the individual from getting married.
Good to know.
Their right to vote is determined by state law, and in many states, they may still be able to vote. And it certainly doesn't prevent them from getting a driver's license, provided they pass the written and driving tests.
Okay, so it's specific in scope. And it's a lengthy process, right? So parents are advised to consult a lawyer well before their child turns 18, if possible.
Definitely start early. That foresight can prevent a lot of stress and complexity down the line.
So given all these considerations, education, employment, legal planning, how can parents best approach this holistic journey towards adulthood with autism? What's the overall strategy?
Well, it really starts with a realistic assessment and early planning. We keep coming back to that. Services fundamentally change or drop off after high school, making planning well in advance of graduation absolutely critical.
Be proactive.
Yes, parents should actively work with teachers to realistically assess goals and genuinely help their child move towards independence, even if it's hard to imagine them living entirely on their own right away. Baby steps, maybe.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, how much emotional and financial preparation this must take.
It's immense on both fronts. The preparation for independent living can indeed be a long and financially demanding process, no question. But it's far less confusing and painful when it involves the child themselves, alongside trusted professionals, teachers, therapists, and very often, lawyers who can provide essential guidance for the family. Build that team.
A truly collaborative and child-centered approach is key here, then. Involve your child and the entire team, teachers, therapists, in formulating those IEP transition goals to make them more relevant and increase the child's investment.
Makes all the difference.
And when it comes to college, you really need to strategically assess whether your child can genuinely advocate for their own needs. If they can't, they're unlikely to succeed in unstructured college programs. Be honest about that.
And if resources allow, seriously consider options for young adults to live outside the home in structured or community-based programs. These can be instrumental in developing college readiness or crucial independent living skills in a supportive environment.
A stepping stone.
Exactly. And again, we really can't overstate the power of dual enrollment programs as a strategic way for young adults to begin taking college courses while still receiving the supportive services they're entitled to in high school.
This deep dive has truly unpacked the complex yet incredibly rewarding journey of adulthood with autism spectrum disorder. We've explored the sudden cliff of services, gained profound insights from those critical longitudinal studies, and identified practical, actionable pathways for education, employment, and independent living.
Our aim was really to give you, our listener, a comprehensive, nuanced understanding that offers far more than superficial knowledge, truly enabling you to be well-informed on this vital topic.
So, as we wrap up, here's a provocative thought for you to consider. Given the deep insights into the immense variability of individual experiences with autism and the absolutely critical role of tailored lifelong support, what responsibility does society as a whole truly have to adapt and create truly inclusive environments where all individuals with autism can thrive and contribute fully to their communities throughout their entire lives?